Okay, Islam Sheikh Dwayne Bafabay, Islam Memorial American Nation Family, Islam. It is April the 14th, 2022. Real quick, just so I can check the code that just sent me. It's 7:30 p.m. Um, so it is 7:30 p.m. I'm going to give you a rundown of what I experienced today. Today was a odd day. Let me just say this. Islam Sheikh Dwayne Bafabay, I'm on Arrington-Bey as your wife. I found it so odd today, or just many days, so many times I experienced thoughts of the words, they made niggas, they made them into niggas too. And like a pale skin, this is when I'm walking back and forth to earn money at Burger King, and a pale skin might be walking by with a dog, or um, driving by, and then I would experience an emotion of like somewhat of a constitutional thought, like the Constitution of 1787, and the words, they made them into niggas too, were actually the National Grand Sheik Joe Arrington-Bey words. Was he spoke these words? He probably still do sometimes on the conference call. I haven't heard him say it, but he used to say it. He does. Oh, you might say he does. They made them into niggas too. And so he's referring to the pale skin, those that say white, because white is not a nationality. That was my understanding about it. But he didn't go into the telepathic code and what's all in the telepathic code, or speak about a telepathic code. So now that I know that we are among those that have the telepathic code, and there's different strands of the telepathic code, I take it a bit further in reference to the statement, because the National Grand Sheik made, or has made, they made them into niggas too. Now, he didn't say they made them into spics too. He said niggas. Now, niggas, that word nigga came from the word negro, which usually was applied to the blacks, okay? And I remember when I attended the temple, subordinate temple 1 in New York, the reason why they said that the Klans, the KKK, was created, and I think it was 1865 was when the Ku Klux Klan was created. They said, well, one of the reasons the Klansman was created was because the so-called white people, but they're not white, that's not a nationality, were fighting back because they were placing the whites in the same status with the blacks. Black is not a nationality. So the whites, this is one of the reasons. It's pretty sure there's many other reasons too, of course. So the whites would go and lynch and do other things towards the blacks or the niggas. All right. Remembering white is not a nationality. So that means if you say you're white, you're demonstrating you outside of constitutional law. African American black is not a nationality. If you say you're black, you're demonstrating you're out of constitutional law. You are not in the constitutional fold. So, and if you say you are Hispanic, or you so-called been naturalized on this landmass, but you haven't been naturalized under the 13th Amendment with 20 sections, you haven't been truly naturalized. So that too places you out of the constitutional fold. So you could be from Mexico, South America, Central America, El Salvador, which is part of South America, different other parts of Africa, and you say, I'm going to be naturalized. But they didn't naturalize you under the organic Constitution of 1787 with the 13th Amendment with 20 sections. And in Section 19, it states that all men are free, or forever free. Then you were not truly naturalized. So that means you are here on a landmass navigating. You think you've been naturalized, possibly, or you already know that you have not been naturalized properly, but you choose to go along with it. Nonetheless, you're not in the constitutional fold. So the National Grand Sheik was saying that they made them into niggas too. So when I hear certain words like that, or certain sentences like they made them into niggas too, you have a thought of what you're experiencing at that moment, or in at that present time, with the knowledge that you have. Okay, so at the time I'm thinking constitutional and so forth and the claim, but I didn't think of, because I wasn't knowledgeable of the mass distribution of the telepathic code, Islam. And so if the telepathic code has different strands, okay, and different activations and different ways to manipulate DNA. So when that statement, I'm not saying this is what National Grand Sheik meant, but this is what my thoughts are saying. This is my connection thoughts, being knowing that we are among different strands of the telepathic code, and you have different strands of it. You got pale skins behaving no different from that which the nigger or the Negro or the black or the African American. Now I want to say nigger or Negro, black, African American. That would be the term that the Constitution recognized them by, unless they claim a nationality. So when the word they made them into niggers too, I'm thinking on a mental level and on a spiritual level as well, but mental first, because what you behave, what your thoughts are. So if your thoughts are animalistic, if you have an animal state of mind, Islam, then you behave as an animal, Islam. Usually you demonstrate what your thought process is, Islam. So now when I hear, I was, like I said, I just kept, like experiencing thoughts of what the National Grand Sheik was saying, especially when the pale skin be walking by me with their dogs, lovey-dovey with their dogs, and so forth, and all of a sudden I would hear them say, I hear experience a thought of they made them into niggas too. This here in Annapolis, Maryland. It connects me to, and then hearing them say three, the number three. Three, around here definitely it's a pale skin somewhere around accent. The brothers, hearing them say brother, I've heard pale skin say brother. It's to me, I'm connecting to the similarity in the telepathic strand, which you have different strands that I definitely think that are mixed with animal DNA, with the black Negro, the African American. They made them into niggas too. So they gave them a strand of the telepathic code that's no different than the Negro, the African American. Some of them, they made them into niggas too, and they know by the way they behave, through their thoughts, the way they behave, and if they are classified and identified, they sound white, then they already know they're outside of constitutional law. But they are, but I'm saying on a government know through thoughts and behavior what kind of strand a group of people may have. They made them into niggas too. So in Annapolis, many pale skins behave no different. I mean, no different than that which look to be from Mexico, South Central America, and the African American black Negro, especially saying the number three. I've heard this too many times in odd ways and odd behavior. So once again, connecting that statement in my thoughts and my connection in my spiritual mind, they made them into niggas too. So in Annapolis, I can see how that can be applied definitely to the pale skin, okay? To this pale skin here. So that have an animal thought of mind, animal state of mind, and that have the I got to move my hair back a little bit because it makes my that has an animal state of mind and behave as such, Islam. So so this is in Annapolis, Maryland. Remember, so I just want to say that, and that was what approximately 9 minutes of talk. So they made them into niggas too. They made them into niggas too. Anyway, So today was an odd day at Burger King. Once again, this is interesting. This pale skinned lady that comes into Burger King quite often. She comes into Burger King with they look to be I don't know what's the right definition, but some would say artistic, but I don't know if that's the right word because I don't know what their diagnosis is. But she definitely helps them order. Let me just say that she helps them order. It's usually a tall, he looked to be black male. That's the description I would give him. And then a pale skinned girl, and she had blood. So the thing is, she had blood drops all over her shirt. So the caretaker that usually come in, she's a regular they've come into Burger King many times, asked me if she can have a band-aid, and the girl that she helps order the food for, the pale skin, she showed me her finger. It was cut, and I said, I have to ask the manager. I'm not sure if I can give you a band-aid. Let me ask the manager. Mind if, so I turned around. Mindy was standing. Mindy is a pale skinned co-worker. I turned around and I said, Phyllis, a customer looks to have cut her finger. Anyway, she's bleeding. Her finger is bleeding. She wants to know if she can have a band-aid. Phyllis wouldn't answer me. Phyllis was at the sandwich station. Minnie was in front of the fries doing fries. I said, Phyllis, because the customer was sitting there waiting for me to answer her, give her an answer, and I was like, Phyllis, she wants to know if she can have a band-aid for the customer wants to know, can she have a band-aid? Her finger is cut. Phyllis did not wouldn't answer me. Then Mindy said yes, like Mindy has done before in reference to me asking Phyllis, can I go to the bathroom or something, or asking Phyllis certain things, like can I do this? Can I do some form of duties or something like that? And I would say, let me not, I said, because Mindy is not the manager. And so Mindy said yes, and then Phyllis looked at her and said, and did something, made a noise. It sounded like an agreement, but she did her hand towards Mindy like that, as Mindy said yes. And I was like, I'm not going to say, Mindy is not the manager. I said, Phyllis, is that a yes or no? Because she didn't make it clear. She looked at Minnie and made a noise and motion with her hand as Minnie, after Minnie, like in the moment of Minnie saying yes, you can, but she didn't literally say yes. So I said, Phyllis, is it okay if I get a band-aid and give it to the customer? And she wouldn't. She still didn't reply after that. So I told the customer. I told the customer, I said, I can't say yes, I can't give you a band-aid because the manager, I mean, she's right here and she didn't say I could, and she didn't give me an answer. I can't do it. That's it. And the customer, was like, okay, but the girl had like drops of blood on her shirt, and she had cut her finger. It was like a little cut on her finger anyway. So I just thought it was odd because Phyllis wouldn't answer me. Like, look at me and say yes or no. I assumed it was no because because I asked her again after Mindy said yes, because Mindy is not the manager. And I didn't want to go in the office, go into the first aid kit, get a band-aid, and hand it to the customer without her permission. Um, so then there was this other guy that came into Wendy's, and I mean, not Wendy's, but Burger King, and he reminded me of the conversation I had with the cashier yesterday. Made me think of also, not just him, but let me just tell you something else I remember I experienced, even in that moment of working. I was thinking about. I was out. And this I let me just say this. I was not too far from those that looked Spanish. They were like two males that looked Spanish, and they were holding a cell phone in their hand. And this is on a spiritual level. What I just told you was physical. This happened today. It's April 14, 22, about Phyllis and not responding. But this is on a more spiritual level. And they had a cell phone in their hand, like, doing something. They were looking towards my way. You broke up a little bit at the end, but I heard the last thing you said. And then I felt a energy upon me, like a mongoloid energy. And as around me, I heard people cough. You know how when someone is sick, someone is really sick and they have cold in their chest, they're coughing. This is before this situation. This thought reminded me. It was maybe approximately 2 or 3 males, 4 or females. Anyway, they were definitely spending. So anyway, I experienced something that reminded me of this thought that I needed to say this today. So you know how when people have like once again a cold and they have really like a lot of cold in their chest and they cough it, you know, I felt this energy upon me of a little like Hispanic woman engaging coughing with cold in her chest, and then a mongoloid, okay, or I should say a Hispanic female unclean spirit coughing cold in her chest, and then I felt like the mongoloid male engaged in my sheath, and then I noticing the Hispanics, it looked like they were Hispanics, pressing a button on their phone, and I literally started to feel mucus drain from my nose, like from the back and drop, like not drop, but drip. Like I felt like mucus. You might just drop something. Mucus drained from my throat, and I was like, this is how those that are unclean can be used as terrorists. So I've given testimony of unclean spirits that can send a filthy smell. So they can it's like a wet dog smell. I've experienced that. Usually when I look around somewhere close, it might be a very filthy, unkept, pale skin around, or they could be Hispanic, or it could be an African American black Negro. Or cologne, like black Negroes wearing a very heavy cologne. I've smelt that in the room. Like, and if I look, I might not be able to see a black Negro close by, or I might hear an accent. Somebody walking in front of the door out here, but nonetheless, I smell this really old, like old cologne in the room. So I know unclean, unnatural spirits. I'm not accusing them, but this is what I've experienced. Can definitely exude or transfer smells. Urine smell, I've experienced that. Like someone has, like an unclean spirit was like full of urine, and they can transfer these smells. So nonetheless, what I'm getting at, if they the connection is if they can transfer smells, unclean smells, which attacks one of your 5 senses, then they can try to make you sick as well. Because definitely the unclean spirit had engaged with my sheath, and the Hispanic was doing like this. So what I'm demonstrating is how diseases can be spread, or sicknesses, okay, especially if your immune system is not up to par. Islam, because remember, Sheikh Dwayne Bafabé, I spoke about how my genitals being attacked and someone saying brother or he still love you, all right, and it's like they were trying to unclean spirits trying to activate some form of a sore, or like herpes or whatever, and then they kept saying brother, or he still love you, or that sort of thing. This is dealing with spiritual and mental attacks. So these unclean spirits, what I experience is definitely demonstrating how they can transfer sicknesses. All right, because literally I started to feel mucus drain from the back of my nose. So what is mucus? Mucus, Islam, can cause sickness. If you have too much mucus in your system, it clogs you up. It's one of the main healing factors when you speak to those that are in dealing with holistic healing. I remember reading and have read and too many times is clean the mucus from your life. Stop eating foods that accumulate mucus. You get rid of the foods that accumulate mucus, and you are able to heal, or you'll feel a lot better. So nonetheless, what I found interesting when I experienced this is these Hispanics were not, it's like they were, literally in front of people walking by, not like they would know unless they had a telepathic code. But I'm telling you, I believe that that we are among a telepathic world. Not everyone, I can't say, has it, and I'm not accusing everyone, but I just found it odd that they felt just to attack in an open like that Islam. And so what's so interesting in reference to this thought and what I experienced is just yesterday I was at the register, and the pale skin girl was taking my order. And I'm not taking my order, but the register at Whole Foods, and there was a pale skin cashier, excuse me, and she was asking me about the plant-based nuggets and fish patties. And she was like, "What made you become?" Or she said, "Are you vegan?" I said, "I'm not. I don't like to use the term vegan. This has been, Anyway, we had a short conversation. She said, "What made you stop eating meat?" She said, "Was it because of the animals?" I said, "No. What made me start eating meat was health. It was my health. I started to focus on my health, and as I focused on my health, and I started to listen to my body and the chemistry of my body, I started to release. I started to release certain things that I was eating, and it happened gradually. And I could tell by the way I felt and my health how it increased by what I stopped eating. In so many words, that's what I was saying. And she was like, "Oh," and I told her, I said, "I haven't been to the hospital because of health, besides having to get ibuprofen for my foot. It was really, really cold in 2015 when I traveled, but I haven't had to go to the hospital because of sickness since 2010, or I said 2010, but it could have been 29. I think it was 2010. I'm pretty sure it was 2010, but hey, it could have been 2009, but I think it was 2010. And she was like, "That's amazing." I said, "Yeah, I'm being honest. I haven't had to go there to the hospital." And anyway, she was like, I think she said she was thinking about doing it, but because she thinking about the animals. And I said, I once again reiterated, when I first started to cut back and stop buying meat, was not because of animals, but it was definitely because of my health. And I just left it at that. Anyway, so I found that interesting because of what I experienced and what I have experienced in reference to those that attack the genitals that are unclean and unnatural spirits, in reference to trying to activate some form of herpes possibly, or make you think you have it or whatever, and then you hear an unclean spirit saying, "Brother, still love you." Okay, so what does that tell you? What that says is that unclean spirit is infected. Just because a spirit has a disease doesn't mean that spirit is unclean. But when an unclean diseased spirit, all right, who know is unclean and filthy, and they just want to recycle and spread the disease even more. Whether it's a black Negro female that's unclean and filthy, because many times black Negro females are still saying brother, like, well, stick with your brother, right? Because once again, these are unclean spirits I'm referring to. The National Grand Sheik, mind you, said they made them into niggas too. All right, and why the Klansman was created in the first place. Okay, one of the reasons why the Klansman was created, because pale skins did not want to be in the same category with the niggas. So the Klansmen, the pale skin, did not want to be in the same status and category with the niggas, with the Negroes. And they saw that this was happening. So what they did was they started to react in an unhealthy manner. Okay? And they started to react in an unlawful manner. But this is one of the reasons why they said pale skins behaved the way they did in a violent manner, not justifying violence. But this is just history that they were speaking about. And I remember in Sport Temple 1 in New York, it's because a government was trying to put the pale skin that hadn't claimed a nationality, that was going by white, because they started claiming, I think they started to use the term white in I think it was 1790. It was in 1790 something, or 17. I can't remember the last part, but it was either in the late 1700s. I think it was in the late 1700s or in the middle 1700s. I remember I have the history on that, and I can't remember right off. So they started, the pale skin started using the word white. Okay. So when they saw that a government was putting them or trying to place them in the status with the niggas, the Negroes, that's when they started to behave in a violent manner. Islam and Negroes, and that could be in many different forms, but at the time it was definitely applied to African American Black Negro, and because that was the status that many of us, but I'm not an African American Black Negro in the term, in the chemistry as I'm speaking of now. Now I see that there was probably a different form of Negro that existed then, just like it was now, like it is now. Okay, if this doesn't apply to you, it doesn't apply to you. And I think the pale skin knew about it, knew about these different forms of Negroes and Blacks, or Negro Blacks, African Americans, that was being bred in Moorish lines. And they knew how a government can flip the script and treat those that were less fortunate in pale skin. Okay, what they would say, poor white trash, Islam. So they became violent and started turning on the Black Negroes, Islam. So that's exactly what I see. Because if you have a species of Black Negroes today that has a telepathic code and unnatural unclean, you had a species of unclean Black Negroes then too, Islam. Anyway, that's why I'm going to end this video.